So then, the stage is set for another fascinating year in the Premier League. We know which 20 teams are going to be in the division this year. Massive congratulations to Luton Town, Sheffield United and Burnley for joining the big league. Leicester City, Southampton and Leeds United won't be in the division this year. Let's have a little look at the early predictions from the bookmakers for that upcoming season. Do obviously take the bookmakers' predictions with a pinch of salt. It's not my predictions and it's so early on into the season. The bookmakers don't always get them right, but it's going to be fascinating to look at them nonetheless. Before we get into this video, please do show some support. Let's go for 500 likes on this video as we start Premier League content for the 23-24 season, and do make sure to subscribe for your Premier League fix this summer. Let's have a little look at who the bookmakers think are going to win the league and go down from the Premier League this season. So then we're looking at it through a tier list here. I'm going to put them in order of what the bookmakers think this season. You've got the top 4, the teams battling for Europe, mid-table, just surviving, and the bottom 3. And you can see the 20 teams lining up for this season. Look at Luton Town in there. Isn't it brilliant to see? Let's have a little look at who the bookmakers are going to do what this season. Starting at the top and working our way down. No surprises, the bookmakers think Manchester City will win the league again. It's pretty hard to argue. I know we haven't seen how the summer's played out yet and what business has been done and what's what going into this season, but Manchester City are always everyone's favourites, and especially after what they did last year, Manchester City are just that team that no one is able to stop most of the time. And even though Arsenal got off to a brilliant start last season, Man City came back and took the title off them. Can Guardiola do it again? And that's if he's going to stay as well. Should be interesting to see what happens this summer, but I really can't argue with the bookmakers putting Manchester City top of the league. Next up, the bookies are going with the same top 2 as last season. Arsenal to finish second again. Got to say, Arsenal proved a lot of people wrong last season to do what they did. A lot of people thought they'd finish around 4th or 5th or even 6th place like myself, so I'll put my hands up to that one and say I was wrong. The bookmakers are going for Arsenal to do just as well as they did last year next year. They have Arsenal to challenge for the title again in second place. Credit has got to go Mikel Arteta's way, and they have got Champions League football to look forward to next season as well. The bookmakers have Arsenal in second place. Gunners fans, let me know your thoughts on that one. Up next then, in third place, the bookmakers are going for Liverpool. They reckon Liverpool will improve on last season. They're going to bridge that gap and get back into the Champions League. It's going to be interesting here for Liverpool because they're playing on Thursday nights. They're in the Europa League this season. I think Liverpool will improve as well. I'll give my predictions in a video in a few days' time, my early predictions. But once again, we don't know what business they've done, what Jurgen Klopp's going to do this summer. It will be interesting to see. But Liverpool will really be desperate to get back into the top 4 after a pretty underwhelming season. I do think, though, it's worth pointing out they ended the season last year in pretty good form. So they'll be hoping to ride that wave into the new season and get back into the top 4 where they feel like they belong. To wrap up the top 4, the bookmakers have gone for Manchester United. They reckon Manchester United will hold on to a Champions League place. They finished 3rd last season, and I think Ten Hag did a pretty good job on the whole last season. I think it was certainly an improvement on the last couple seasons gone by. It does feel like Manchester United are still some way away from getting back to where they were under Sir Alex Ferguson and really challenging for titles at the end of the season. They always seem to have a good run through the season and feel like they're involved in the title race. There was a little time in this season where they got close. They did win the Carabao Cup as well. So Ten Hag, it was an improvement. Can they stay in the top 4 or could they do better? The bookmakers reckon they'll hold on to a top 4 place. So let me know your thoughts if you're a Manchester United fan. Let's move on to the teams just missing out on the top 4. The bookmakers are starting with Chelsea. Chelsea's a really difficult one, I won't lie. I don't even know where to place them. Obviously, a big summer coming up. A lot of change certainly needed there. But they have got Pochettino, and I do think that should be a good thing for Chelsea. At the end of the season, it just felt like nothing was working for Chelsea, and it just looked like they gave up. Under Frank Lampard, they really struggled to get results, and in the end, they finished 12th. So this would be a big jump, but I don't think they're going to get any worse than last season. The bookies have them to go straight back in towards a Champions League battle. They've put them in 5th place. They could do better than that. They could do worse. The bookmakers have them in 5th. Let me know your thoughts if you're a Chelsea fan. The next team the bookmakers are going for are Newcastle United in 6th place. I was really impressed by Newcastle last year, by the way. Brilliant to see them in the Champions League. I really am excited to see what they can do. Could that, though, maybe take away from where they finish in the Premier League next year? It's going to be interesting to see. The bookmakers do think they'll slip a little bit down to 6th place, but I think Newcastle United are trending in the right direction. I wouldn't be surprised if they finish in the top 4. As I say, the bookmakers have them to finish 6th. Maybe that is to do with them playing Champions League football in the midweek games. Let me know your thoughts if you're a Newcastle fan. Do you think you prioritise the Champions League as it's your first time in that competition for years? Or do you think it's a massive thing to stay in that top 4 in the Premier League next season? Obviously, Newcastle fans will be hoping for both, but it will be difficult competing on both fronts when teams like Chelsea haven't got European football and can put all their eggs into the Premier League basket. Let me know your thoughts if you're a Newcastle fan. The bookmakers have you in 6th. Next up then, 7th place, the bookies are going for Tottenham. This is certainly going to be a massive summer for Tottenham Hotspur. It does feel like every summer Harry Kane is linked with a move away. But after last season, he racked up, I think, 30 goals in a team that didn't even get into the top 7. If I was Harry Kane, I'd be very upset with that, and I'd feel like I deserve to be in a team where he's competing to win trophies. Tottenham Hotspur to just finish a little bit ahead of where they did last year in the bookmakers' predictions. If you're a Spurs fan, how are you feeling going into the new season? Obviously, a lot will happen during the summer, so very early to say right now, but the bookies have you in 7th. Next up, the bookies are going for Brighton. Just like with Newcastle, the bookies think they'll regress a little bit, and I can only put that down to them thinking because they're in Europe, that might distract them a little bit. Like we said with Chelsea and Tottenham not being in European competitions, that could strengthen their chances of performing well in the Premier League itself. I think Brighton finishing in the top 8 again is very realistic. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if they sneak into that top 7 again. They're just a very well-run club. De Zerbi did fantastic after taking over from Graham Potter. Brighton fans, let me know your thoughts down below. To wrap up that top 9, the bookies have gone for Aston Villa. Villa did absolutely fantastic. Another club that seemed to be going in the right direction. Unai Emery, what a job he did last year. And obviously they've got European football coming up next season. It'd be fascinating to see Aston Villa in a European competition. And I wouldn't be entirely surprised if they followed in West Ham's footsteps and were to get to the final of that competition next year. I think Aston Villa are a fantastic team, and Unai Emery has really got them ticking. They picked up some massive results at the end of the Premier League season last year. Villa fans, let me know your thoughts on this one. Do you put all your eggs into the Europa Conference League basket, or do you think Premier League is the focus? What we saw with West Ham last season was a bit of a regression in the Premier League while they went quite far in the Europa Conference League. So that could happen for Villa. The bookies have them in 9th place though, so they think they'll still stay in that top 10. Let's move on to mid-table. The bookmakers have gone for West Ham to climb the division. At the time of recording this, West Ham United haven't actually played out their Europa Conference League final yet. If they win that, they've obviously got more European football to look forward to next season. As for the Premier League, it was a weird season. They were involved in the Premier League relegation fight going into the last 5 or 6 weeks, but they picked up the results they needed. And on reflection, a bit of a mixed bag season. They've certainly got potential to kick on next year, and the bookmakers think that will happen. They have them to finish in 10th place, which is back into the top 10, which would certainly be a massive improvement on last season in the Premier League. It's going to be interesting. Hammers fans, share your thoughts. The bookies' early predictions have you to go trending back up the table. Next up, the bookies have gone for Brentford. Brentford are just a very well-run team. They're just very well organised, and Thomas Frank is a fantastic manager. I just love everything about Brentford, I won't lie, and I do hope they have another good season. It appears that the bookmakers have gone for a tiny drop-off from 9th down to 11th. I think with Brighton, Villa, Newcastle and maybe even West Ham as well, all being in European competitions, the stage could be set for Brentford to make their push in the Premier League for a top 7 finish. So I'd say this is slightly harsh from the bookmakers, but you never know. The Premier League is very competitive. What do you reckon, Brentford fans? Do you think it'll be a top 10 finish or mid-table or maybe a bit better? Let me know down below. 12th place, the bookies have gone for Crystal Palace. Interesting. Really difficult to call coming into this summer. As a club, they're a pretty solid Premier League club, and they've been in the Premier League for about 10 years now, which is incredible. They've had a few near escapes, and last season I suppose counts as one of them until Roy Hodgson came in. Patrick Vieira had that team sliding towards that Premier League relegation mess. But what I would say is bear in mind that Patrick Vieira had a very hard run of fixtures at that time, and Roy Hodgson came in and most of his games were against teams in the bottom half. As for going into next season, it's a difficult one to say. They've got key players there. I do think they'll keep their heads above water in terms of the Premier League relegation battle. Not impossible they could push on into the top 10, but it's going to be a big summer of change at Crystal Palace. The bookies have them to finish in 12th. What do you reckon? If you're a Palace fan, do share your thoughts down below. The next team, Wolves, pretty similar to where they finished last season. The bookies reckon they'll keep themselves just ahead of the relegation battle. You can break Wolverhampton Wanderers' season last year into loads of different mini chunks. They had a slow start, the new manager came in and they got off to a pretty good run at one point, and then they ended the season with just 4 points in the last 5 games and an absolute battering at Arsenal on the final day. I don't know how much you can read into that one, but they did get past the 40-point mark, which kept them away from the Premier League relegation fight in the end. Wolves fans, share me your thoughts. It feels like the bookies have gone for you to finish in a similar position to last year. Do you think you could push on, or do you reckon you could be in a worse position? I don't know. It's so early, I couldn't call it. Next up then, and this is one I've got to admit I'm struggling to agree with, Everton to just keep themselves away from that bottom 6. I've got to say, based on the last couple of seasons, it really wouldn't surprise me if Everton were involved in a Premier League relegation dogfight again. Also wouldn't surprise me if they were to just survive again. I'm not saying necessarily that they're definitely going to be in the bottom 3, but I don't know, there's something rotten at that club, and you can see the Everton fans are obviously unhappy. They need some big changes, especially with this being a big club, a club that's been in the top flight for so long, a club that's moving on to a new stadium soon. They want their future to be in safe hands, and Sean Dyche did a decent job to keep them up, but that pitch invasion for them staying up on the final day, it just feels wrong for a club like Everton to be in that position. I'd get it if it was a club that's just come up to the Premier League desperate to stay up, but Everton shouldn't find themselves in that position. The bookmakers reckon they might improve a little bit next season. They've put them in 14th place. Everton fans, do let me know your thoughts down below. I do find it a very fascinating one with Everton. Can they improve, or will they be in trouble again? It's a really hard one to say at this moment in time. 15th place, Fulham. The bookmakers reckon Fulham will fall down the table a little bit. Got to say, it was a very good season from Fulham though. Comfortably in mid-table, never really seems in danger of the Premier League relegation battle, and Marco Silva did a good job. He's got to come in for a lot of credit. I feel like they slipped under the radar a little bit from media attention because they'd stayed up so comfortably and they weren't really battling for Europe so much, so it just felt like Fulham were that middle team. I think Fulham fans would be happy for that kind of season again if they can keep themselves well clear of the Premier League relegation battle as they look to continue to consolidate in the Premier League after promotion 2 seasons ago now. It's going to be a difficult one for Fulham though. The bookies reckon they'll slip down the table a little bit. I'll share my thoughts in a video soon, but the bookies reckon Fulham will go down to 15th place but stay in the Premier League again. 16th, the bookies are going for Forest. They reckon Forest will finish in the same place they finished in the season of 22-23. It's an interesting one with Nottingham Forest. I did say for a long part of last season that I think Forest will stay up, and they did it before the final day, and they picked up a draw at Palace on the final day. They scored 38 goals, they got 38 points from 38 games, they picked up 1 point per game and 1 goal per game, and that's definitely going to keep you in the Premier League. It's definitely an interesting one coming into this season. I do want to see Nottingham Forest fans' thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think you'll be able to push on and consolidate now in the Premier League and maybe climb towards mid-table? The bookmakers reckon Forest are going to hold where they finished last season and just keep themselves away from trouble. It's going to be difficult though. Let's not forget the Premier League is a very hard league, and the Nottingham Forest fans felt that last season when they were right in the Premier League relegation battle for half of it. But what I will say is the bookies, for a change, are going for Forest to stay up. It felt like for the whole of last season they were writing them off. Forest fans, do let me know your thoughts down below. I think so long as you got Steve Cooper, I think you're going to stay in the Premier League again. The bookies have you in 16th place. I'll give you my prediction in a couple of days' time. So then, 4 teams left. Not really a surprise that the 3 teams that have come up are in the bookmakers' bottom 4. They do have Burnley to just survive though. This is interesting. If you're a Burnley fan, share me your thoughts down below. Easily the best team in the Championship last year. Vincent Kompany did absolutely fantastic. Proved a lot of people wrong. I didn't even think Burnley would be the best team in the league last year, but they certainly were. They blasted everyone in the Championship to smithereens, and the bookmakers think out of the 3 teams coming up that they'll be the only one to survive. But they've only said by the skin of their teeth. They're putting Burnley in 17th place. I think Burnley are going to be a good addition to the Premier League this time round. Not that they weren't under Sean Dyche, but I think the football that Vincent Kompany got them playing was really good. It'll be interesting to see what players they bring in. Obviously, once again, it's very early. If you're a Burnley fan, let me know your thoughts down below. The bookmakers think you're just going to survive. So then, on to the bookmakers' bottom 3 for the Premier League in the 23-24 season. Don't take this personally if you support one of these clubs. All you can do is prove the bookmakers wrong and laugh at them, but they have got Bournemouth to go down. They did predict Bournemouth to go down last year, so Bournemouth fans, you could just laugh at them and say, we'll prove you wrong again. It's interesting with Bournemouth. Their season was a bit streaky. They got off to a bit of a slow start under Scott Parker. They had that 9-0 defeat to Liverpool. I think Gary O'Neill did a fantastic job with Bournemouth though, and the way they ended the season was really well. They got themselves safe with a few games to go, and then they did actually lose their last 4 games of the Premier League season. It will be difficult, don't get me wrong. I do think Bournemouth could be involved in a Premier League relegation battle again, but the bookies have gone for them to go down, but they did last season and they got it wrong. So Bournemouth fans, you can prove the bookies wrong again here. Let me know your thoughts on this prediction from the bookmakers though. They've got you in 18th place. The bookies have also gone for the Blades to go down. The bookmakers think Sheffield United will finish in 19th place. Sheffield United was solid last year, and Paul Heckingbottom's been there for over 18 months now, which I think is a good thing. I think they've got a bit of continuity about them. They've been in the Premier League before not too long ago, so they've got that experience there. I personally think Sheffield United got a better chance than the bookmakers are letting on here. They reckon they're going to be in 19th, but it's no surprise here. The bookmakers always tend to go for the teams that have come up to go back down. So Sheffield United fans, you're going to have to prove the bookmakers wrong here. I do think obviously you need to add some more quality through the summer, because at the moment it's obviously a top end of the Championship team and they want it to be a bit more of a Premier League team, but they were so good in the Championship last year and I think they've got a good chance of staying up, but the bookmakers don't think so. So let me know your thoughts if you're a Blades fan. And finally, moving on to the bottom team, the bookmakers have gone for Luton Town. Luton Town fans, don't be too upset about this one. The bookies always seem to go for the team that have won the Championship playoffs to go down. Technically, they finished the lowest out of all of these teams across the football pyramid last season, but Luton Town was certainly a hard team to beat in the Championship last year. They gave Sheffield United and Burnley some good games as well, so they're not too far off those teams, and if Burnley are tipped to stay up, I think Luton Town have also got a good chance of staying up. Obviously, Luton Town play at Kenilworth Road, which is going to be the smallest ground in the Premier League. It does certainly need some work doing to it to drag it up to Premier League standards. I do think in the long run Luton Town are looking to move, and obviously the promotion to the Premier League could maybe fund that. I just think it's brilliant though. Whether they stay up or go down terribly, I think Luton Town being in the Premier League is going to be fascinating to see. And yeah, I wish them the best of luck. Even though they beat my team in the Championship playoff final last year, Luton Town certainly deserved their shot at the Premier League. The bookmakers have got them to finish 20th. Let me know your thoughts if you're a Luton Town fan. Do you agree with the bookmakers that you're going to be going straight back down, or do you think they're writing you off too early? Let me know your thoughts down below. So then guys, that does wrap up today's video. That is the bookmakers' early Premier League predictions. Like I say, take it with a pinch of salt. The bookmakers always seem to fancy the big teams and don't fancy the teams that have come up. Let me know your thoughts nonetheless, and obviously there's a big summer to go through first before we can see what the teams are actually going to look like going into August. If you've enjoyed this video though guys, please do make sure of course to hit that like button. We'll go for 500 likes, and do make sure to subscribe for more Premier League content. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.